So unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that the Star Wars celebrations have been taking place in the UK recently, with many things being announced in the upcoming slate of Star Wars content, including a new Ahsoka series and, most importantly for this video, a new set of films, kicking off with a film post the sequel trilogy starring Rey, building up a new Jedi Order. And I'm not excited for this fact, but it's not for the reasons that you might think that it is. So, to give you a bit of context, I've been a Star Wars fan on and off since Force Awakens happened. I don't have the sort of entrenched, nostalgic love for Star Wars that I do other sci-fi properties like, well, Doctor Who, but I do enjoy the films. I remember vaguely watching the prequel trilogy back when they were sort of coming out when I was younger, but I don't really remember much about that time. But yeah, I've watched most of the films and have a tertiary knowledge of the expanded universe of Star Wars. In short, I'm a casual Star Wars fan. And for the last few years, Star Wars has mostly been focused on the TV shows, and some of them have been to great acclaim, such as The Mandalorian, which personally wasn't for me, but I can understand why people liked it, whilst others have not received such positive reception, such as the Obi-Wan show, which I did complete. However, I was thoroughly disappointed in, particularly towards the midpoint, and it felt as though a 2-hour film had been stretched into a 6-episode show. But with that aside, it's been a while since a new Star Wars film was in the picture, with us hearing regular details through various different expos about multiple different Star Wars projects, such as the Taika Waititi Star Wars film, the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron film, and a Kevin Feige-led Star Wars film, 2 out of 3 of which do not seem to be happening. I also believe there was a proposed project with Game of Thrones writers Benioff and Weiss, which was scrapped due to creative differences, as well as a proposed Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy that also doesn't appear to be happening anymore. And herein lies the core issue with some of these announcements at the Star Wars Expo. They've announced 3 films with 3 directors, none of which have titles. And for me personally, it's getting exceedingly difficult as a casual Star Wars fan to care about these announcements, because I am constantly wondering in the back of my mind, are these actually going to happen? Now, I hear out the argument that these were announced at a Star Wars celebration, so they have a way bigger chance of happening than the likes of, say for example, something that's at an investor call. However, those announcements are still official. And I think because we've had so many of these announcements and rumours and details about Star Wars projects that never came to be, I just can't really get excited for the prospect of new Star Wars films until they are officially confirmed or a trailer is released. And that is a weird state to be in, because otherwise, when it comes to other Disney IPs such as Marvel, when something is announced, it's guaranteed to happen. Whereas with Star Wars, there's this weird thing where TV shows almost certainly will happen. Movies, there's kind of a 50-50 chance whether we'll ever see any of them. And obviously, I wasn't the biggest fan of the new trilogy. I think it had a lot more promise than probably a lot of people did. But I am interested to see the concept of Rey training a new generation of Jedi. I think that's a good way of taking it. But will this actually happen? The same could be said for the new series that will see the establishment of the Order of the Jedi as well. Sounds like a cool idea. Will it actually happen though? I want it to happen. Don't get me wrong, I'm not coming at this from the perspective of someone who doesn't want these films, but I'm coming at this from the perspective of someone who has been excited for these films before, but can't really feel that excitement because of so many points in the past where these films have either been cancelled, not happened, or just not been very good, frankly. This feeling of being alienated as a casual is somewhat not helped by the fact that it's felt as though a lot of the Star Wars shows in particular have become increasingly insular, relying more on past characters that the fans love rather than casting a wide net in terms of who they appeal to. And for me, that's just quite alienating, because whilst I do have some knowledge of Star Wars, I'm not the biggest expert on characters like Cad Bane. I don't really know who Cad Bane is, but I want to enjoy these things. But I just find the universe as it exists at the moment thoroughly alienating to get into. And this is coming from someone who's a Doctor Who fan who's witnessed The very same thing happened with Doctor Who, where over the last few years, it's increasingly become more focused on its own lore, and it does make it harder for you to gain new fans through that. And obviously, a new trilogy of films could aid in that process, but again, we come back to the question, will these films actually happen? Also, side note, if they are going to do a new trilogy and Rey's going to be in it, do something with Finn. Obviously, I don't know whether John Boyega will want to come back, given all of this stuff, but my guy deserves some justice. He was done really dirty. But what do you think? Are you excited for these Star Wars announcements? Do you think that I'm blowing this out of proportion and that these films will definitely happen this time? Or do you think, like me, that the chances of these happening are somewhat more tenuous, given Star Wars' mixed history with announcing recent movie projects? Please like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you